Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Women Who Rock the World, a podcast about women in different fields. And what I like saying, we like to change the shape of the world one woman at a time. Today, with me, I have Rena Cohen. Welcome, Rena.
Yay. Thank you.
Rena is a registered dietitian and behavioral coach, and I'm very thrilled to have you here. I saw online some of the stuff that you do. Of course, I'm going to let you explain everything about it, but I wanted to start with this question because I believe every single woman in this world, probably, maybe not right there, but has tried a diet, once, at least
Yes.
once. And so, what did you see, in your 20 years in this field?
So I've seen a lot, and the downfall of diets and kind of the long lasting repercussions, both in terms of the hormonal damage, metabolic damage, and even the feelings of self worth and of yourself. Because it's like you go on these diets, which are meant to be a short term fix. That's what they are. They're very restrictive. They have a lot of very strict rules, and you follow this, you eat like this for an X amount of time, a very finite amount of time. And then what happens when you go off the diet? It's like there is nothing set in place to be able to preserve and maintain not only the weight that you lost, but some of the actions and the behaviors that are required to keep that weight off. So it leads to this cycle of emotions, this cycle of yo-yo dieting where your weight goes up, your weight comes down, you lose 10 pounds, you gain 15, we lose 20, we gain 10. So it's like this constant cycle of weight changes, which is not great for everyone's body and also for your self-esteem. But it also leads to so many deeper rooted issues in terms of metabolism, in terms of hormones. And it's like becomes so frustrating because women we're conditioned to sort of think, okay, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to eat less, I'm going to go on a diet. But like the sad thing is that you can't always be in this mindset, in this place of your life where I'm intentionally losing weight. The body is not meant for that. So there has to be, periods of like I'm okay and I'm happy with my weight. But the diets have like created this culture around which we're like, oh, I'm just always on a diet. And very many women that I speak to, I'm like, how long have you been trying to lose weight for? And they're like, oh, I don't know, I'd say around 30, 40 years. Like these are women in their 60s who have been trying for the last 30 or 40 years to lose weight. And like clearly the approach isn't working, but they don't know of an alternative approach or another way to be able to work with their body to get the weight off. It's like, sadly, all we know of is going on these diets with these short term fixes, and they will most likely get the weight off unless you're on diet number 10 where your body is starting to resist those diets. But for the most part, they'll be like, okay, I'm going to get some weight off, and they look a little bit better, they feel a little better, but then they're so scared and so afraid to even go back to somewhat semblance of normal eating because they know what happens when you go back to normal eating. The weight comes back on. And so it like precipitates these like the fear and all of this you know like worry about going out with friends, or worry about eating normal meals, or eating balanced meals, eating nutritious meals, because they're so focused on the diet culture, which is like eat less, stick with low calories, stick with low calories. But for women, especially as we get older, the body needs nourishment. It needs some kind of fuel. It can't always sustain itself on such low calories and such intentional sort of diet culture. And so it's just like, I personally have seen it evolve over the years, and sadly I see it getting even worse. I mean, we can get into some of the injections and the trend of those, but that is also like the the need for women to always want to force their body into the smallest version of itself at any expense and whatever way possible is taking a toll not only on their physical well-being and on kind of their hormones, their physiology, but on their understanding of themselves. Like, who are they? I'm no good unless I am a size 2, or I'm not going to be good enough if I don't lose this weight. And that is what I see to be very, it's devastating, and it's a really hard thing to kind of turn around from. But that's, in order to fully lose weight and to lose weight in the right way, in the right kind of weight, it comes from that inner work and working within to value yourself and to realize, what it is about yourself that's so amazing and so special is so much more than, okay, I can do this. I can get to a number on the scale, because then what?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, talking about restrictive diets, I mean, especially like on social media, I see it all.
Yeah.
Recently I had, I don't know, it popped up on TikTok, a woman that was eating like a big steak, like three, four eggs and avocado. And she said, that's the only thing that I eat, like breakfast and dinner and stuff like that. I'm like, okay. So it is there any food that is really bad for us, or drink, that's
I
really
mean,
bad
so
for
my approach is all of that. We're all different. So our bodies are all different. The way we utilize food is different. So I encourage my clients, and I like to stay away from classifying foods as good or bad. I mean, yes, there's some foods that you want to have more of them, maybe eat them more frequently, but like things, the way to be able to kind of allow all foods is to be able to eat things in moderation, eat things in balance. Of course, like I would lose my dietetic license if I said you can have French fries as much as you want. Like, obviously not, but to also tell yourself French fries are bad. French fries are off limit. You could never have French fries is only going to push your brain and your subconscious mind to want more of those French fries. And that's just the way the psyche works at a very subconscious level. If I were to tell you, don't think about a pink elephant, that's all your brain is going to go to right now, because I'm saying don't think about this. So if you tell your brain French fries are no, French fries are off limits, what's going to happen when like you're out somewhere at the movies and everyone's getting French fries? Like the temptation and desire for those are going to be so intense that you're not going to be able to say no to that. So I do work with, there's foods that we want to eat more of and foods that we want to eat less of, and focusing on the nutrient quality, and not just the calories and the macronutrients, but the overall vitamins, the minerals, the nutrient quality of the food. But that's going to differ for everybody. So if you think about somebody who, I mean, this is an extreme case, has a food allergy, for example, their body cannot tolerate. So someone has a dairy allergy or a sensitivity to gluten, like they're celiac, their body physically cannot tolerate that food. So that is considered a food that they obviously can't have. But for the vast majority of people, we want to include different foods, all kinds of foods in different amounts and different portion sizes, to be able to give your body that complete balance of nutrition. And people are
us.
looking for that. People are looking for that, like, just tell me which foods are good. And this is something I wonder about all the time, which is why diets are so appealing. Like when I was growing up, like that the cabbage soup diet was this huge thing. All you have to do is eat cabbage soup 3 times a day and you're going to lose weight. And people like flock towards that because they want these black and white rules. Be like, just tell me what I can eat 3 times a day and then I'll be fine with that. But like, again, that speaks to the sustainability of these approaches, like how long you're going to eat cabbage soup 3 times a day. So it's like you want to be able to allow yourself to eat all kinds of foods when you understand what your body needs and what those foods provide for you. And then learn, which is what I teach women when I work with them, is to learn how to understand your bodies, how to listen to your bodies, and how to be able to understand the portion sizes and what your body needs from the various types of foods, which is hard again for our brains to comprehend. But just tell me what to eat all the time and I'll follow. Like, so
Yeah,
we're
because
looking for that.
it's kind of yeah, it's kind of, I believe it's because now that you were talking about it, I said, like, you know what, it's kind of what we all want, because I
Yeah.
think it makes things easier, it gives us peace of mind. And but I was wondering, like, why is that? And probably is because like a restrictive diet is not maybe ingrained, like it's not in our DNA, and so we're not meant to diet, we're meant to survive, even though these days we have so much food that it's beyond way
Yeah, I know.
beyond
And
survival.
it can be at your
But
doorstep in less than 10 minutes. If you order it quickly, you can get, oh, I'm in the mood for pizza. It can be at your door so fast. So that has really changed the food culture.
absolutely. So, but at the same time, that's why we want the same type of fix, with dieting, because as much as I can order food, then I want a diet at my doorstep, something that is going to, almost zero effort. Is there such thing as, I mean, I would believe that if a person would properly diet, or I don't like to use the word diet, but um, feed herself, if we could feed ourselves properly, that should be effortless. Am I correct? Does it make sense?
100%. Yes, that's exactly what I come to tell people. Like when people ask me to, can I work with you? This is not a diet. So I say, you're going to work with me for X amount of time, let's say 3 months, and then you're going to go back to your old ways. Like you've done that, you've been there, it doesn't work. So what I teach clients when I work with them is not just, okay, dieting, eat as little as possible and lose weight, but it's like actually working with your body and nourishing your body by eating maybe five balanced meals a day, maybe 3 meals and 2 snacks. But we figure out what your body actually needs. And then what happens is once you're implementing those actions that are best supporting your body and your body's in a much better space, the weight loss happens almost by default, because it's like your body is like effortlessly losing weight because we've changed the signals, we've changed the hormonal pathways, we've changed the metabolic demands that are coming from your body. And just like you said, our bodies are intended, they're so primitive that way, they're intended for survival. Your body's going to do whatever it can. It's still as intricate and amazing as things are, our bodies are still stuck in that primitive world, being like, are we safe, are we going to be attacked, or are things, resources, kind of safe? And so your brain still functions in that realm. And so if you're on a diet all the time, constantly under eating and trying to exercise and push your body's main goal is to protect you and to make sure you survive. And so this is where, like, once we flip that around and we let your body know, even like unintentionally, like resources are plentiful, like we're safe, your body's able to let go of that need to protect you and to keep you alive, because it's left to feel a lot safer. And that's what I
Mhm.
mean, all diets don't address that piece, because the diets leave your body feeling threatened, feeling like, uh-oh, like we need to protect ourselves, which is why your body then conserves energy and shuts down some processes. So many women, younger women who are dieting or extreme dieting with, eating disorders, they lose their period. They lose a lot of not essential, less essential bodily functions, because the body is trying to conserve energy and just ensure that like you don't die. And so then, okay, the body doesn't feel safe to be able to carry children at this stage. So it's going to shut down those processes. The body's not safe, not stable or not safe at this time to be able to, I don't know, do intense workouts. When you do a workout, you're going to feel weak and feel lightheaded, because your body's trying to communicate with you and send you the message like, we don't feel safe because we feel like resources are limited and we don't have the capacity to let all the body to preserve all the bodily functions. And so it shuts down the ones and makes sure, okay, we need to keep our brain going, need to keep your heart going. Digestion also sometimes suffers. So women that come to me with a lot of digestive issues is also a sign the body is struggling. And these are the signals that we as women need to pay more attention to, and we're not used to paying attention to these signals. It's like that's your body's cry for help. Like there's something not right. If you're constantly having constipation, bloating, inflammation, it's a sign from your body like we're having a hard time and like something needs to change. And our immediate reaction is to be like, oh, I need to work harder, I need to push harder, I need to do more. But it's actually not that. It's really listening to sort of what's my body trying to tell me. And then once we address that, it's like women are amazed, be like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm losing more weight than I have ever, and I'm not trying as hard." I'm like, "Because we're finally working with your body, listening to the signals, staying in tune to the signals, and acting appropriately, and your body feels safe and your body feels assured." And that's a huge, huge difference. And there's no way you can get that in diets, especially because on a diet you're often on your own. So it's like, okay, if it's not working, let me try harder, let me push harder. And it really takes a toll, and it becomes very, very frustrating being stuck in that cycle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so you mentioned listening to our bodies. What should we do? And I'm one of those, by the way, when our bodies crave like sugars,
It's a
or
good
having like,
it's a good question. I get that question all the time.
I know, but because it's okay. First of all, like a lot of people say sugars are bad, which again, I would say yes. It depends what type of sugar, probably, right? But then, of course, the type of sugar that one craves is dessert, or cookies, or stuff like that. And of course, you can have usually not good. But why does it happen, especially
So
to women? Because I think it's something more for us.
it is for sure for more for women. And if you think back to what I explained before, any signal or sign from your body is almost like a message. What's my body trying to tell me? And so we as women, I mean, we definitely have the hormonal impact that men don't have. So that's kind of one piece. Like you may notice, oh, my cravings for sugar really go up at a certain time of month. Like hormones do impact your appetite, your hunger cues. There's definitely an impact there in terms of signaling pathways. But if you find yourself, and this is sort of what, again, what I address with a lot of women, you find yourself constantly needing or turning towards simple sugars. So, like things coming from desserts or baked goods or candies that are going to be more simple sugars. We have to look internally and think, okay, what is it that your body's trying to tell you? And very often, if your body is lacking a certain nutrient, and this is sort of the scientific approach, and then there's also a bit of an emotional, which I do work with. But in terms of sort of let's think about it this way: if your body is pushing you towards something, so you a candy or something that's going to be a quick source of sugar. Think about your body's main role. Your body's main job is to protect you. Your body is fearing that we're missing something, we're lacking some kind of nutrients, and so maybe your body's worried, oh, maybe our blood sugars are going to go down, or there's not going to be something to kind of stabilize our blood sugars because that's what your body needs to survive. So your body is going to push you in terms of cravings towards these sources of sugars or these sources of glucose that are going to immediately raise your blood sugar levels up so that your body can feel like, oh, okay, we're protecting ourselves, we're in a safe space. So that's what happens physiologically. It's like when you're lacking nutrients, when you're lacking especially carbohydrates. A lot of women tend to undereat carbohydrates because we've been told for so long carbohydrates make you gain weight, carbohydrates aren't good, carbohydrates make you fat. So if women are very often staying away from carbohydrates and we start to reintroduce the right kinds of carbohydrates at the right times a day in the right amounts, almost magically the cravings subside. And that's because we've addressed the physiological need that often happens. If your body is lacking something for extended periods of time and it senses that that something is there, it is going to push you towards ingesting that so you can immediately raise your blood sugars. And so that's the physiological aspect. The other piece is the emotional piece where because of the hormones, because of the load of stress that we women are often carrying, again, we kind of turn to things that are going to make us help us feel better in the moment. So it's like the chocolate, it's just so inviting and it tastes so good. And in the moment it does, it tastes so good. And so we get that immediate sense of like, okay, I feel better and I feel something in my body. I feel stress or I feel nervousness or I feel sadness or I feel some emotion in my body that doesn't feel nice because we don't want to feel these emotions that are, maybe labeled as more negative, but they don't feel right. And so again, we're pushed towards we need to do something to alleviate that feeling because we're not used to sort of taking that time to sit with those emotions, actually feel them, and be like, you know what, I do feel anger today because my coworker said this and this to me, and she really made me feel embarrassed in the meeting because she, I don't know, called me out on something. And so that's an emotion that instead of feeling that emotion and actually sitting with that emotion, it's like, oh, well, if I eat chocolate or I eat candy, it's going to help me feel better. And you know what? The anger that my coworker caused me today is just going to be subsided. And so that's a very common like coping mechanism because it's just so quick and easy. Oh, but I'll feel so much better when I eat the chocolate. But in the moment, yeah. So in those few moments after, but then you're like, oh, the guilt kicks in and be like, why did I do that? Every single time I keep doing the same thing, which again speaks to this, repeated patterns that are very hard to break. And that is the key to sort of long-term weight loss. When I talk about behavior change, and I have a degree in psychology before my degree in nutrition. So I have a psychology degree and then a dietetic degree. And so the key to long-term weight loss stems from within. It stems from the behavior change component and really understanding the beliefs and the habits and behaviors and the psyche behind it all, because otherwise we're just putting a band-aid on it. Okay, so you lose the weight, but you never fully address the reason as to why the weight keeps coming back on, or why you keep turning towards candy, why you keep turning to chocolate. So, if someone is like, oh, okay, just tell me not to eat it anymore. So I have done that. And you know what? You can like white knuckle your way through it for maybe 2 months or maybe 3 months, because Rena told me not to eat those things anymore. So I'm going to utilize all my willpower, and I'm going to utilize all my self-control, and I'm not going to have it. But if we never fully address the reason why you're turning to those treats or those chocolates or those super high sources of sugar as a coping mechanism, what's going to happen when Rena's not there and telling you, don't eat that anymore? It's like it's going to pop back up. And an
Absolutely.
analogy that I often use is like the exhibition or the fair, you know, that game where you play like whack-a-mole, where you have the little thing comes up and you hit it with the hammer. So like, okay, so here I've hit it down. I'm no longer eating chocolate for 3 months. But you know what? That same behavior is going to pop up somewhere else. And then you're going to hit it down. It's going to pop up somewhere else. And again, it's like that quickly you pop it down, which is like that Band-Aid you slap on it, but we've never fully addressed why is that thing, living underneath for so long, and how can we work with that so that it doesn't keep popping up in other circumstances and other situations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So um what can women do, you know, to start listening to themselves? I would think probably writing things down, for a certain period of time, because I realize that we don't really think about what we eat sometimes, either or we do it too much or we don't do it because it's like, I've been bad, I know. So I'm like, I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
But is it some type of journaling, I mean, helpful at
Very
all?
helpful. So one of the first exercises I have my women
Face
like
yourselves.
well, one of the first exercises I have the women that I work with do is to log their food and have many different forms of how we're going to keep track of it. And I start with simple pictures. So you know what, take photo, they do upload them and send them to me, but there's so many different ways. It can be with pictures, it can be with a simple journal. I have people even use the notes app on their phone. You know what? Because that brings this such a level of awareness. Be like, I had no idea that like I don't know, drinking 4 coffees a day. I had no idea that I was eating the equivalent of like 4 chocolate bars a day. And so it brings not only a level of awareness, being like, okay, you're actually going to be accountable and we're writing things down, or I'm taking pictures, I'm keeping track of what is I'm eating, just as a starting point. No judgment, no expectations, no pressure. Let's just get a baseline of sort of where you're at. What that also helps is not only increase awareness in terms of, oh, I didn't even realize. Sometimes, especially moms and mothers of little kids, when they're making their kids lunches, be like, oh, and there's a few pretzels for the bag and a few pretzels for me. But if you're not writing that down, it's like it goes in one, it's totally at like a lack of awareness. So it's first like, let's just get a baseline of what it is that you're eating. Again, we're not going to make any judgments. We're not going to change anything. Let's just get, and I usually say like anywhere from like 3 to 7 days of kind of, let's just get a log of what it is that you're eating. The other thing that really helps with is that it helps us create some patterns. So if women are struggling with, emotional eating, start to notice like, you know what? I really tend to eat a lot of those snacks in the evening after my kids go to bed. And that's my me time. And it's time for me to unwind and time for me to kind of relax. And that's when I tend to turn to those snacks. Oh my gosh, I never realized that before. So it's like brings a level of awareness. And then we also start to create some patterns. When are a lot of the, similar types of behaviors happening? Or when are we turning to these kind of foods? Or when, if you do notice you have more bloating, when does that tend to happen? Is it after certain foods? So without having the data and without having things written down, we can't make these correlations. And if you're not working with somebody doing on their own, it's even a helpful exercise on your own. Let me just get a baseline of the type of things that I'm eating, because even without me intervening and saying, can we change this, adjust this, just doing it on your own and reflecting on it and looking back at it, you're like, okay, I see now what I need to do. And the question is whether you're going to do it on your own, which is the hard part, but it's there in your face being like, I see now what I need to do. And I often equate it to people who like, oh, I have my bank account, but I don't want to look at my statements because I just don't want to know that there's no money there. So we have the choice. We can be, close our eyes and, not look at the bank account and not realize that we're totally under the balance and we've kind of in the overdraft. Or we can kind of look at it and analyze and learn from it and say, okay, this is what I have to work with. What can I do differently, or how can I kind of best make this work for me? And so that's exactly it. It's like we're afraid to look because we're afraid of what we're going to see. And so that means that we have to do the hard thing, which is looking and making ourselves vulnerable and opening things up and actually paying attention to what we're doing, which is why I do love journaling, pictures, recording, tracking, some way to kind of let's start bringing it to the conscious awareness of what it is that we're eating. And then we'll make a plan. And even if you don't know how to make a plan, let's just start writing it down. And that's a really, really good approach for women who are trying to be like, and for very often for women who are under eating, I use the same approach too, because you know what? I have a lot of women who have been dieting for so long and are stuck at these low, low calories and feel like I can't do anything about it. So you know what? Let's see. And let's see where we can add some food and where we can add the right types of foods and use it as a baseline to be able to adjust things. And that's all it is. It's a judgment-free zone. It's a place to let's just open up our bank books and let's just see how we're going to make this better.
Yeah. Yeah. Water. What's the role of having enough water? I mean, everyone says like, okay, I'm trying to convert liters to gallons, but like 2 liters in Europe, we say 2 liters of water a
Oh, I
day.
think in liters too. That's good. I think in
Yeah.
liters. So
So
that's
like
good.
for people in America is like half a gallon, give or
That's about 8
take,
cups.
of water. Okay, yeah, 8 cups each day. So is that a one size fit all for like everyone? Because that's something that I've always wondered. Like, how can it be 2 liters or whatever that is, cups, 8 cups, good for everyone? You know, men,
Yes.
women.
So it's a very general approximation, and I'm going to equate it to the newest trend, which is like everyone should take 10,000 steps. Like there's nothing magical about 8 liters of water. There's nothing magical about 10,000 steps. And what again, what people really need, people like hard and fast rules, and people like to also be able to be like, okay, let me have an endpoint to be able to work towards, which is good. It's good for kind of yourself to play these little games. Okay, today I got 5 waters. Today I got six cups of water. 8 cups of water is a generalized recommendation that will serve the vast majority of people. When I work with people and kind of calculate their water intake, I do it based on their weight and based on kind of I do it a little bit based on their weight and then how many ounces they should be drinking accordingly. But I'd have to say like 90% of the time it falls in that range. So sometimes with 1.5 to 3 liters, like that kind of encompasses sort of most people. And so it's like it's nice to have a generalized recommendation that you know that others are working towards. So if you have a little bit of a competition with your coworkers, oh, I know I'm drinking my water bottle has 1 liter, I drink 2 liters. It makes it easy to implement. The thing with water, I mean, there is a point where you can drink too much water, but it's unlikely. I mean, that you'd have to be drinking a lot of water and really diluting things out. Your electrolytes, everything comes so dilute. So there's really like it's the kind of thing with like let's aim for 2 liters, which is a gonna meet the needs of 90% of the people. But then you can have to adjust accordingly because just like everything else, steps are very similar. Your body adapts to what you give it. So if someone is already taking 10,000 steps, they're not going to see the same benefits from going up to 12,000 steps as an example as someone who's right now taking 3,000 steps. Let's try to get you to 5,000 because for that person to go from 3,000 to 10,000 is way too far of a leap and it's just going to be too overwhelming and too much to do. Same with water. Let's just try to drink a little bit more than you're already drinking. So someone comes and be like, I hate water. I really can't drink water. Okay, can you drink 2 cups of water? Or do you have a water bottle that you like to use? And we can kind of aim for my water bottle here, I think is 40 ounces. Okay, 32 ounces. So that's about 4 cups. Like, can you try to finish one of those water bottles a day? And they're like, oh, yeah, I think I can do that. As opposed to say, well, you need to drink 8 cups of water every single day or else you're not going to be healthy. It's like, let's meet. I try to meet someone where there's at. Tell me where you're at now in terms of water, and let's try to progress you to a place where you don't feel overwhelmed and you feel like you can get there. And if we can get you to 8 cups, awesome. If we can get you to 6 cups, you know what? That's better than 3 cups. And so it gives you a goal to sort of aim towards, but it's sort of like, each person is individualized, and based on where you're at right now, we want to kind of see, if you're good with drinking water, you drink about 10 cups of water a day, let's say, that's not going to be your biggest lever of change. Like you're in a good place. We don't need to really push the water more. We may need to focus on some other aspects of lifestyle depending on what your goals are, but it's all about finding the thing that's going to make the biggest difference for you and for your goals.
Absolutely, absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. So I I gather like your approach, which I love, is like anything in moderation, basically, but also like listening to our bodies, listening to ourselves. But it's a lot of like a mental thing as well, because I mean, we're programmed as human beings to ingest food to nourish and function, as fuel. But then food is so much more, it has become like it's cultural as well
Yeah.
too, and it's a gathering, during holidays, and it's a way to bond sometimes, and it's great. I mean, I'm Italian, so of course food is awesome, and it's like it's this big thing, and it's all about food, whether like if you don't eat enough, mom and my grandma used to like, here's a cookie, just have a cookie, you're not eating enough, this is not good for you. So but it's um that's why the mental part is so important, because it's so ingrained in our culture
Yeah.
that we need to sometimes step aside from it, and see it for what it is, like fuel, something that it
Yeah.
needs to make. We need to function on that
Yes.
food.
And I'm Jewish, so culturally also food is a huge part of our holidays, our celebrations. Every week we have tons of food. And so a lot of it's so the things that get ingrained in us from my grandmother was the same. It'd be like, just take one more bite, just one more bite. Come on, just do it for me. Just take one more bite.
Yeah, and
And
you
it's
feel
like,
bad.
yes. Or you'd show up to her house and I'd come over for like a Saturday lunch and she'd be like, oh, I made your favorite food. So you have to eat the entire thing. And so you realize these things. And that's part of the deep rooted beliefs that get conditioned within us that we don't even realize are there. And so I've worked with women also who have found like, because of how they were growing up culturally and, their mother, their grandmother would be like, no, but you can't get it from the table until you finish your plate. And then she was so conditioned to do that because she was not allowed to leave the dinner table until she finished her plate. And this woman was probably 55 years old at this point, but she was still following the rules and saying, when I eat dinner, I got to finish my plate. So if I go to a restaurant and the chef in the kitchen decides this is how much I'm eating, I'm going to finish this plate because I can't get up from the table until I finish the plate. And so something that was her very difficult thing was to say, how about we pack up half of that plate for leftovers for tomorrow so that we can reduce your portion sizes? But it was like a fight with her psyche, with her subconscious mind, because it was like, oh, but my grandmother's going to be mad at me, my mother's going to be upset at me. Like as children or even as teenage, we get conditioned to sort of have certain beliefs around food. And so yeah, some of it is breaking free from some of these conditioning, some of these beliefs, and not even breaking free, but sometimes it's assessing and analyzing, like, you know what, asking yourself, is this working well for me? I have goals, and my goals are, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to be a good example for my children. I want to keep the weight off. Is the fact that I'm continuously each and every time overeating at dinner because I have to finish my plate, is that in alignment with my goals and with the person that I want to be? And that's where the real change happens, because we all do it. We end up going through the motions because of what we've been told all along. And so we've been told that, at a holiday dinner, you're going to eat tons of food, which is okay every so often. But if your holiday dinner is happening every single week and you're overeating, maybe that's not serving you so well. But those are the hard things that are so difficult to change and to kind of like break that pattern, break that cycle in your mind, because we want to keep doing the things that we've been doing for so long, because it leaves our subconscious, like our ego, feel safe. And so that's where the difficult work comes in. Because if you continue going to sort of like overeating or finishing your dinner plate, or, eating, I don't know, extra at nighttime, it's like you're going to get further and further away from your goals and then feel more frustrated, being like, why can't I do this? Because we have to really look at and question some of those behaviors and some of those beliefs, which is the really hard work. Without One of my things also that I want to, that I do work with women, is I don't want anybody to have to, go to a family dinner and have to bring their own food. Oh, I can't eat that. Or, I've come with my own meal because I'm on a diet, because like that's not a good feeling. And, I have little kids and I want to be able to eat the same meals as my kids are eating. And that's a huge important thing for family life, for for children examples, to be able to kind of see that. So it's not just about, it's learning how to be at these events, these cultural events, these social meals, and truly understand, okay, what's my approach and what are my behaviors that are going to be in alignment with the person that I want to be and how I want to feel, and making those decisions. Even though it's different that maybe how you would have decided to do things for the last 20 years, that's okay, because you're able to sort of make those choices and feel empowered by those choices. You're at a meal and you know exactly what to choose to put on your plate and how much to be in alignment with your goals and to properly nourish your body. So it's like you get the best of all worlds. You're not stuck eating, typical diet food. I'm only going to eat the vegetables and the grilled chicken. You can eat from what's being served, but you have a true understanding as to what to take on your plate and how much of that to take. And that's truly empowering. And it's a confidence booster for women. It's like women be like, this is one of the biggest changes that they report back to me, is feeling this sense of control, feeling the sense of confidence, and really feeling empowered when they're out with friends, and not feeling the pressure from others, not feeling the pressure to drink alcohol because everyone else is and they don't want to, or to have dessert because someone's pushing it on them, because they truly understand. And if they do want to have dessert, they can have one piece instead of the entire plate. And that's a huge shift and a huge difference, which empowers them to then be able to lose the weight in the short term and keep it off in the long term, because the new behaviors have been wired and they feel like, this, I can live my life this way. This is good. So it's a
Yeah.
shift.
Well, it
It's a
was,
big shift.
yeah, exactly. Yes, it's a shift. Yeah, it's been so, so helpful. Um, Thanks so much, because you gave like a lot of insight. And how can people reach you? I'm going to put your links at the bottom here, but where can people reach you if they want to work with you?
Social media is the best. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. So all of those are my profiles. I can give you my email address. They can contact me, but I do put out a lot of content on Facebook, on Instagram. So like they can kind of look into some of my content, and be able to just hear a little bit more about what I'm about. I have some links there. They can sort of go to some videos I've created, and really, I'm very passionate, as you can tell, about this. And it's like, this is my approach is very different than diet culture. And it's, if you're a woman 35 and above and you've been on diets and you're struggling to lose weight, like it's time to do something different, and it's time to actually work with your body instead of against your body, and get those hormones, like boost up your metabolism, like move away from the restrictive dieting approach into approach where your body is going to like literally say thank you. Like, thank you for giving us nutrition. Thank you for nourishing our body. And thank you, because, and that's going to come back to you in the increased energy levels, your sleep improves, like all these things that we as women complain about that gets more difficult as we get older. So much of it is related to nutrition. Poor sleep, even some hot flashes that women experience, poor energy, those midday energy crashes, and feeling like you're dragging yourself through mud through the afternoon. Like all of that starts to like pick up, and it's like as if you see that the light at the end of the tunnel, like, oh my gosh, I feel so different and so much better because my body is actually being nourished and it's functioning at such a different level. And it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean,
My
thanks so
pleasure.
much. It was really helpful. Again, everyone go follow Rena on all her social media. Again, I'm going to put her links here and just get in touch with her. If you need help with losing weight or in general have like a balanced, diet and food intake. And yeah, thanks again. Thanks
My pleasure.
for accepting and being on this podcast. And yeah,
Thanks for
speak
inviting
again.
me. Happy to be here. Excellent. Sounds good.
You take care. Bye.
Bye.